Remember one time we were talking about how we thought Trump should not be able to be on the ballot? What do you say now? Oh, yeah, I say that I still think that he should be on the ballot because even though he had a conviction against him, I think that sets a bad precedence for people who want to run in the general election. I think it sets a bad precedence, and I think it sets a bad standard in order for people for people to obviously who is being politically disregarded, and he's also being pursued by the Justice Department. It's very obvious because what Trump got convicted of in New York City is something that all real estate moguls or real estate not agents, but people who own real estate and deal in real estate, they all do that. They all hike up their prices, and then when they go to get loans, the bank decides whether or not that loan is viable or that price is viable, and then they give a loan when they put the properties they already own, when they put those up for, what do you call it? My God, what's it called? Kevin O'Leary did a good job. He did get a conviction. Marianne unsuspended her campaign. Oh my God, who cares, Raina? Marianne can suck it. He did get convicted though, Phil. Which it's all bullshit. And again, I'm not trying to say I love Trump. I like America, and I think it should be fair. I love America. I'm not a fan of Trump. He's not technically, he was sued, right, in a civil trial for fraud. So he was convicted of fraud, but it's something that is so normal for, it's normal in the real estate business, what Trump did. No fraud was really happened. The bank got their money. Nobody was defrauded. So, let me show you a video by Kevin O'Leary, who you might know from Shark Tank. And what's interesting too is that the Governor Hochul even released a statement saying like, hey, don't worry to other real estate investors in New York. If you're not Trump, you're okay, basically what they're saying. So he's obviously being politically targeted. And that's what I don't like. Again, not a Trump supporter. I don't want him to win the presidency. I don't think it'll be good for America, but I also don't like Joe Biden at all. I actually like RFK a lot. That's my guy right now. If you're not Trump, you are okay. Well, I'll show you the articles. We can just pull that shit right up right now. Because it just, to me, I don't like that
this influencer, let's call her
it's
Seven.
politically motivated
Let's call her
to try to get him out of the race because
Seven. So she's Chinese,
the
and
policies
recently she
that
decides
have
to-
been implemented in the last 4 years have not been it has been detrimental for the Democrats. So the Democrats are trying really hard to get Trump out of the race. Obviously, Nikki Haley is a plant that is trying to diffuse and siphon off votes for Trump, when the reality is that fucking Trump is like whooping everyone's ass. Now, bring us a candidate that can actually run and have a significant impact on voters, and maybe things will be a little bit better for the Democrats, but they want to parade grandpa who can't walk, can't talk, who is obviously racist. The 94 crime bill that Joe Biden helped put into place has gotten more black people locked up than ever in history, turning them into essentially slaves, right? And which we all support when we go to McDonald's and we go to Walmart. We support slave labor that in part was created by Joe Biden. He said countless other racist things. Not to say that Trump hasn't said some fucking, semi-racist things. But I'm just saying that this man, Joe Biden, who has been in power for 40, 50 years, has done so much damage, has just been so disingenuous. He's just such a fucking lizard of a human being. So let me show you this.
CNN definitely did not see this coming.
I have to ask you, look, some people look at all this and they say, Is this what happens in business, what Trump has said he's done or is accused of being done? You've been doing real estate for decades. Does this case strike you as odd?
Well, let's leave out Trump for a minute, and let's leave out politics and just talk about what happens in real estate development anywhere. So,
and that's very important for this. That's a really important statement. He said, let's just leave out politics. Let's leave out the idea of Trump. We know that Trump has as soon as you say Trump, it's divisive and it's, people go ballistic. So let's listen to Kevin O'Leary of Shark Tank. And he's a, multimillionaire and he's an investment guy.
So if you're a developer and you've got a building on a block anywhere in America and it's worth, let's say, $500 million, and you want to build a building right beside it, you go to the bank and say, this building is worth $500 million. I'd like to borrow a construction finance loan against this asset, and I want you to tell me it's worth $500 million too. And the bank negotiates with you and says, well, no, we think it's worth $400 million. And you fight it out. You're always trying to show your assets in the brightest light with the sunshine you could possibly determine for them. You want them to be worth the very most, because you're only going to get a 40 or 50% loan to value, as it's called. Then you borrow that money. In the case of a $500 million asset, maybe you get $250 million, and you build a new building with a construction finance loan. And so that's what this case is all about. And by the way, forget about Trump. Every single real estate developer everywhere on earth does this. They always talk about their asset being worth a lot, and the bank says no. And that's just the way it is. So in this case, what I'm trying to figure out, and I'm not pro or con, or I don't care about the politics, who lost money? Nobody. The bank got paid back the construction finance loan, and a new building was built. And if you're going to sue this case and win, you got to sue every real estate developer everywhere. This is all they do. This is what they do all day long, every day. So I don't think this thing will ever survive appeal, regardless of what the fine is. This doesn't even make sense. Now, look, I know Trump's got a lot of problems in other indictments and everything else, but this, if you're a real estate developer, you're watching this, you're saying, what is this? This is ridiculous.
Right. And Phil even said that there are real estate people who are pulling out of New York currently. Yeah, right. And, you got the election interference thing going on in Atlanta, which Fannie Willis is under scrutiny right now for basically for lying under oath, for having a relationship with her subordinate who has been making trips to the White House to be to have direct conversations with Joe Biden. They've been stealing money, taxpayer money, to go to to Bermuda and to all these exotic places. That case is falling apart as well. I don't know what's going to happen with that shit, but I know the DA down there is probably going to be out. These other Trump hasn't been convicted of anything other than the civil fraud trial, which is a fraud of its own. So all I see is someone who is being politically attacked because they're resonating more with the citizens of this country. Again, I'll keep fucking saying it. Not a fan of Trump at all. I think he's funny. I think he's fucking hilarious. But I don't like the precedent that's setting, and I don't like that they can use they can go politically attack people that they don't agree with. I think this is a free country where people should have all the information, where people should be able to make legitimate ideas and be able to hear what's actually going on. And that's not the case. I mean, I'm not trying to say that this last election was stolen. I don't really see a lot of evidence of like ballots or anything, but it was stolen in the fact that the tech companies, we had the news organizations, the legacy media, and all these different billionaires who pulled their money together, our deep state, CIA, Justice Department, they all pulled together and created a narrative, wouldn't let certain information out onto these different Facebook and Twitter. They were censoring them, like the the Hunter Biden laptop story. they made a concerted effort to get him not reelected, right? Like to get Joe Biden, the fucking potato, reelect or elected. And to me, that is a certain that is election meddling, and that is stealing an election. And if you don't believe me, we can pull up the Time magazine article, because there is an entire Time magazine article about how they conspired against Trump. I think that that's messed up. I don't think that that's very American at all. Again, not a fan of Trump. Did not vote for Trump. I regrettably voted for Grandpa Potato. And that, to me, I feel so dirty. I feel disgusting for voting for that hair sniffer. Oh, God, he's so disgusting. So, yeah, I think what's happening here is a entire captured DOJ, and it's ideological, and there's money involved. There's billions of dollars involved to sort of continue this war machine, to take away our rights, to take away, our civil liberties, and to easier control us. And I don't like that at all. I think that's messed up, and that's why I'm like, what the hell is going on? Willie, welcome back, my friend. Ziggy, welcome back. So, Joanne, I know that was a long rant. Now, this is what Governor Hochul was saying. I think this is the video.
So the governor of New York just made it very clear that the fraud case against Trump was completely politically motivated. And she did that by making a statement to all the other real estate developers in New York. Kathy Hochul tells New York businesses not to fear about the Trump verdict. It's nothing to worry about. Now, why did she have to make that statement? Well, she had to make that statement because every real estate developer in New York was about to take the fuck off. Because what they just convicted Trump of doing, a judgment where they said he's going to have to pay $350 million and not be able to operate within the state for the next 3 years. Yeah, they all do that. They all do exactly what Trump did. And we know this because there have been no less than 100 real estate developers on the news lately talking about how what they're convicting of Trump doing is business as usual. They talked about how they all go to the bank with inflated values of what their properties are worth. The banks do independent evaluation and say, no, it's worth less than that. And then they get loans based upon that negotiation.
So we have Governor Hochul, who is saying that, hey, if you're not Trump, you don't got to worry about it. That's corruption. That's disgusting to me. I can't deal with that. I don't like that shit. And that's why I think that Trump should still be able to be on the ballot, because it's so obviously politically motivated that they're trying to ruin Donald Trump. And I'll keep saying it. I don't care for him. Don't want him as president. But I think it would be very un-American, and it would go against what this country is fundamentally built on if he is the RNC's choice to be the Republican nominee, and they remove him from the ballots. I just think it's unconstitutional. It's election meddling. That's all. RNC choice. Is he? Well, I know he just won Michigan, right? Did you guys hear that? Can we please fact check on how many conviction Trump? Yes, we can. Google will surely share that with us. Google will show us black Nazis, but will not. But if it goes against the narrative, how many convictions does Trump have? Fact check. How many criminal charges is Donald Trump? This is from February. This is Channel 4. That is an English or UK news outlet. A guide for Trump's 4 criminal cases. So there's 4 criminal cases. This is let's start with Channel 4. Let's just see what they have to say. Trump has 0 criminal convictions, and I believe you're right, Phil. Ziggy, hi. Would real estate going down? If it's going down, will cost of living going up or down? It will just keep going up, of course. I mean, what is this? No, I hate this. Okay, whatever. I mean, criminal charges. What are Donald Trump's ongoing court cases? Mr. Trump currently facing 91 criminal court counts in 4 separate prosecutions. the federal election interference case. In Washington, D.C., he faces 4 felony counts of his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election. This is in federal court, which means he's being tried under national rather than state level laws. The former president has been accused of mounting a campaign to overturn Joe Biden's victory in the election in the 2 months from Election Day on November 3rd, 2020 to January 6th, 2021, which is the Capitol riot, when the Capitol riot took place. He's asking the Supreme Court to extend the delay in this trial, saying he is immune from prosecution because it involved actions he took while president, which I believe are one of the things that I think that's what the presidential immunity. That's the thing, right? I don't even think that's a thing. The thing about that is that most presidents who commit war crimes, like the last, going back a long time, they've all committed some sort of war crimes. But is presidential immunity case one involves novel legal law practice that has never been done before. Yeah, I think you're right about that, Phil. Presidential immunity, Constitution. Let's see. A sitting president of the United States enjoys absolute immunity from many lawsuits while in office. It is under legal dispute whether they also enjoy criminal immunity from arrest or prosecution. Neither civil nor criminal immunity is explicitly granted in the Constitution or any federal statute. So that's just from Google's AI, which we don't know what the fuck it is. So yeah, he has some sort of immunity. Now, if he is convicted in this, I don't know how that's going to play out. Apparently, felons can still run for president, right? Like, even if you have a felony, you can still, if he's not in jail, felons can be president. I'm pretty sure. Can Donald Trump be president again if convicted of a felony? Why can't you just give me an answer, you ass belonkers? Only thing it became a thing because Dems are scared of Trump, which I think so. Yeah, I think we have a left-leaning Democratic. No, you can be president. Yeah, I think so. I think we looked that up before, right, Robbie? I'm pretty sure that we've looked. Can a felon run for president? Yeah, the Constitution does not explicitly prohibit the president from running while under indictment. Has anyone run for president from prison? Just over a century, Eugene V. Debs served as Socialist Party nominee while he was in prison for speaking out against World War I. Yeah, we've gone over this. Okay, so the Georgia election interference case. Now, this is the one we're talking about, Fani Willis, who is Young Thug's DA as well. A ton of incompetence going on down there, which we explored deeply not too long ago. The Georgia election interference case in Georgia State Court, Mr. Trump faces 13 felony counts for his alleged election interference in that state. A recording obtained by ABC News showed Mr. Trump asking Georgia's Secretary of State to find the votes needed to win. Defense lawyers are currently arguing that a romance between Fani Willis, the top prosecutor, and special prosecutor she hired to handle the case should disqualify them both from it. If Miss Willis is disqualified, it could postpone the trial until well after the 2024 election. So there you go. Nothing is going to slap Trump. He has this presidency in the bag. Yeah, I think so too, Robbie. Even my vote going for RFK Jr. is not gonna sway the election. Even me voting for RFK Jr. is gonna do nothing. I'm telling you, I'm with RFK, man. I can't put my vote. I just me personally, but yeah, I think you're right. Maybe if he is shown to have election interference in January 6th, but nothing like interesting. So the classified documents case, this is a huge thing too, right? Because we just found out that There was a special investigation into our current president, Joe Biden, who had classified documents in his garage, just haphazardly laying around his stupid Corvette. And the special prosecutor, said, I think that's who it was. I don't know what his title is. I know his last name is has declared Joe Biden too senile to stand trial, which raises a whole litany of questions about his current leadership. Like, why is this guy who Donald Trump is up for the same charges? Why is because he's senile? Is that exonerate him from any kind of charges for the same thing that they're trying to hold against Donald Trump? So there is some discrepancies happening here, which I find, bananas. Again, what the fuck? Thank you for that shout out, Robbie. I appreciate that. Too many will vote for neither, but not enough to get that person to win. Yeah. I agree completely. The problem I have with January 6th is that we never talk about May 29th. I still feel like the Trump documents have stuff to do with Epstein. Oh, shit. Chaos coming in here, dropping the Epstein. Dropping the Epstein bomb. Let's go. So the classified documents case in Florida federal court, Mr. Trump faces 40 felony counts for allegedly hoarding classified documents after he left office and impending the government's effort to retrieve them. So he was blocking them, trying to not let them into his estate, which anybody would not want the government coming up into their shit. Last year, Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago, Florida resort was searched and 11,000 documents were seized, including around 100 marked as classified and some labeled as top secret, which, hey, why do they have these fucking classified files? Why does Joe Biden have classified files like in his garage? Why do these people have classified shit in their personal residence? I don't like it. It's stupid. Just saying, he said he was taking down the swamp. That's the biggest thing that could do it. Yeah. Biden and Kamala both supported what happened on May 29th. Was Trump convicted of tax fraud? He was convicted of, we just went over that case. He was convicted of, it was a civil fraud case, including real estate, of hiking up a value of his real estate in order to fraudulently get loans. But we just went over that that's completely legal in what people do. That's like business as usual. I'm not sure about the tax fraud. Or was that his organization? I see a CNN article. Sorry, I guess I could not follow it because you were talking fast. Oh yeah, plus my internet is that. It's all good, just show it. The hush money case in New York State Court. He faces 34 felony counts in connection to alleged hush money payments to an adult film star, which I think this was already taken care of, right? A payment of $130,000 was reportedly made before the 2016 election to Stormy Daniels, who said she and Mr. Trump had an affair. The former president has denied the affair. His former lawyer, Michael Cohen, has said he made a payment at Mr. Trump's direction. While such a payment is not illegal, spending money in order to help a presidential campaign but not disclosing it violates federal campaign finance law. Mr. Trump's attorney, Todd Blanche, has argued in pre-trial motions that the payments to Mr. Cohen were lawful money transfers from the former president's own personal bank accounts. Let's see. The former president has pleaded not guilty to all charges in all 4 prosecutions. Mr. Trump also fined $354 million after a civil fraud trial. So that's what it was called. A civil fraud trial in New York on February 16 found he knowingly committed financial fraud with interest included. This means he will have to hand over at least $453 million, as well as being banned from running businesses in New York for 3 years. You know what's interesting is I saw this chart that showed presidents go before their net worth before they took office and then after. So it was like George Sr., right? Like he went in with as like a, $5 million came, and these numbers are just, I'm just making these numbers up, but but they are on level of some kind. They did, so he goes in with 5 million, comes out like $20 million. Bill Clinton goes in as like, $5 million, comes out $60 million. Barack Obama goes in as like a millionaire, comes out with like $160 million. And then it goes to Trump. He goes in with $3 billion. And he comes out with $2 billion. That's wild, right? Like he's the only president that lost money by being president. So it's very weird, right? Yes, I wondered about the part about being banned to run businesses in New York. Yeah, I mean, maybe some of his Trump Inc. was charged with some stuff, but like Trump himself was convicted in New York on charges that are pretty much bullshit. Can't run business in New York, but the country is fine. Right, but here's the thing, Robbie. Like we just went over is that what Trump did for the civil fraud trial was business as usual, and you even have the governor Hochul coming in and saying, hey, don't worry, as long as you're not Trump, everything's fine. You can do business as usual. But again, I don't find Trump to be fitting for office because of how divisive he is. I don't think it's going to move this country forward. There's some stuff I like about Trump, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't like about Trump. I do like that we didn't have any new wars, right? Like that was great. And as soon as Joe Biden got in office, the war machine just took right back off. People said that Trump was going to lead us into World War III, yet Joe Biden and the Democrats are seemingly pushing us harder and harder towards World War III. And I don't like that. I think war is terrible. I think that we are burdening our financial sector by sending all this money over to this proxy war in Russia, in Ukraine, and now we're sending all this money over to Israel. And it's like, I'm sorry, Israel got fucked over. I think that they should handle their business the best they can handle their business, because that has, I'm a very much an isolationist when it comes to America. I'm America first. And I think that we have homeless people that need to be sheltered. We have crumbling neighborhoods that have been shit neighborhoods for 80 years that don't get any kind of finance, right? Like they get skipped over when it comes to financing their schools and financing, rec centers and financing all this shit that should be equally distributed amongst our people, right? And I'm not talking about socialism or communism, but in a sense, yes. But I think I think that we got a lot wrong that's going on here in the United States, and I don't give a fuck about the other countries. I don't care. And what's happening with Russia is that we're goading Russia into using nuclear arms. We're goading Russia into this horrible war. Anyways, getting off topic, the great thing that Trump did was sort of bring peace into a moment of peace, right? And that's good, right? He got more funding for HBCUs, for mostly black colleges and stuff. There's a lot of good things. And I don't know, like I've seen nothing really of value that Joe Biden has brought to the table in these last 3 years, other than gas is too much, eggs cost too much. We're not making enough money to keep up with the inflation that's happening right now. We're in all these wars. We're stressing our financial system to the max. We're just printing more fiat currency that is more and more being rejected by the world, especially with BRICS nations, especially Saudi Arabia just went and got into BRICS now. So I don't see how our warmongering is making us great again. But what are you guys saying? I'm just talking, but I'm not pro. I'm not. I keep saying it, Joanne. Like I said, I don't think Trump is someone who is going to bring this country together and move us forward. Not like RFK Jr. Let's fucking go. I think RFK Jr. at least talks sense. He's not sitting there fucking making these. Basically, what they do is they divert from the questions. They never answer questions. Like, he's very direct on what he thinks and how he's going to approach it, and I appreciate that. Trump is so divisive. He's so divisive that I feel like if he is elected in the office, that you're going to have a bunch of Antifa fucks out on the streets burning down fucking, federal buildings like they did all of summer 2020. What's May 29th? That's what I want to know. I know it sounds like I'm really sucking off Trump here, but I don't like the idea that we can't acknowledge good in what people do because people don't like him. Okay, for instance, Joe Biden, I don't like him. I think he's disgusting and horrible, but I like the fact that he's trying to bring more technology, like the silicon chips that we rely on Taiwan for. I like that he's bringing that technology here. They're building some places in Texas. I think that's great, right? Like, because anything that gets alleviates our need to be dependent on other countries, I'm all about. So awesome. Thank you, Joe Biden. That's an amazing thing that you're doing that's going to help people. I like the idea that that he's doing these loan forgivenesses for student loans. I like that. That's great, especially because if we can send $60 billion to Ukraine every fucking 5 seconds, then we can spend a few $100 billion to alleviate some debt from people who got hoodwinked into a system, the educational system, the institution of these universities. Like, you shouldn't be able to get loans as an 18-year-old kid. Like, $80,000 loans shouldn't be a factor, right? So the fact that they did this and put this upon us, I think that we should be alleviated of that burden. May 29th, insurrection. Is this not it? Okay, hold on. Let's catch up on chat. Can't run a business. $450 million is the president campaign war chest Trump had at the time of judgment in New York. That's why it's exactly $453 million. You can't be any more plain than that it's political. Yes, I agree. It's very politically done. We need unity, not more division. Exactly. And at least Trump was cool with Putin and Kim. Well, listen, I would rather have our president be allies with our enemies than fucking not. Like, why would we want to encourage our enemies to be more violent and to push war? Why would we want to push war? Like, you got to ask yourself, why are we pushing war right now? Is it because we're fighting for democracy and spreading democracy across the land? Or is it a very small group of billionaires who are making a shit ton of money, who are also financing these campaigns, who are financing these criminals, like Nancy Pelosi, who is obviously insider trading, like all these Congress people and senators who are making money off the back end, off of the death and lives of people in other countries? It's gross. So why are we at war? Like, are we really spreading democracy, or are we just sort of trying to overturn governments and steal resources like we've done in Iraq, right? Like, we all saw what happened with Iraq, and that was the war criminals, the Republicans at the time, George W., who I was very vocal against then as well. Also, if this fraud case does not go through, NYC owes Trump for a lot of overpaid taxes, something like $200 million. But it'll be kicked out on appeals regardless. Was good for business. Lots of comedy. Yeah, that's true, Chaos. The thing he brought to the table is he is not Trump. That's enough for me. Fair enough. And that's what it was for me that Biden was, right? Like, that's why I voted for Joe Biden. I was like, oh man, we can't deal with this anymore. Like, this is crazy. The world, the country is to be torn apart. But on the other hand, we also see that we had a lot of the DOJ. There was a lot of instances where these riots were there was a lot of times when they saw people all in black with army fatigues on, all in black with boots on, who are going around smashing out windows. What is that called? The oh my God. There were these plants that came to these marches and turned it from peaceful protest to violence and chaos. It does feel like they were like Phil was sort of referring to, is that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden at the time were all like, yeah, we support this peaceful protest. You guys remember that people couldn't go to church during the pandemic, but it was okay to protest and burn down fucking police stations and government buildings, and create little sovereign cities within cities, right? Like Chaz, where people were just immediately murdered by each other. And it was not a good example of whatever kind of utopia that they think that they were trying to create there. It was shit. It was garbage. And we were allowing these things to happen. It seems like violence and it was all sort of a part of this idea to get a certain somebody out of office. Again, that might sound conspiratorial, but we definitely have seen these people. I mean, if we think about J6, we definitely saw cops opening up the gates. We definitely saw Ray Epps outside, whoever Ray Epps is. We saw him talking to people, saying, we got to go into the Capitol, and people start calling him a Fed. We see this shit all the time. All I'm saying is, like, when there's such a concerted effort to silence somebody, maybe what they're saying isn't all wrong. It's just, to me, it's crazy that, that people don't see that. But again, I'm not a pro-Trumper, and I don't think that he's good for the country. But also, he's not the worst guy, but he's also not the best guy. He's a hair sniffer. So you like to pay more for everything and war all around the world. If that means it keeps Trump out of office, sure. Woo! Do I prefer that? No. I will directly call you responsible. Robbie, why you start World War III? You could say a bunch of bullshit, but it doesn't make it true. Let's see. It is 100% true that you are the cause, and people like you are the cause of World War III and hyperinflation. Phil, coming in swinging. Nope, you're wrong, but that's okay. You can sit in your wrongness. I know I'm right, so I really don't care what you believe. Likewise, I give a shit about you. I could give a shit about you, and that's okay, Phil. It's getting crazy in here. If only I knew then not to take out loans. Right. Well, thank you, Mike, for giving us your thoughts. No worries. Them shadow people paying for it all cause they want to be top of monopoly and run the world. When the tax fraud came up, I immediately thought of you and wondered what you would say. Good point that it's Trump's corporation and not him personally that's been found guilty. Well, I didn't say that, though. I was saying that what he did was business as usual, and not, and that it was some trumped up charges to denounce him. Resources are actually low, but Gates bought up most of our farmland, and they made it so hard for farmers to farm. Even it's gross, but literal resources and a few other things. Yeah, and also the Chinese. They bought a lot of stuff. What I think is that Trump, like the Emperor's New Clothes story, he's got a bunch of people that can benefit from his mental illness. I would say that probably the same thing about Biden, though. Like, there's so many people covering up for him. Supreme Court will consider... Son of a bitch! Let me see if I can BR... I don't think I can. Sean Diddy Combs, we're back. Wait a second. Go back. What did this say? Supreme Court will consider immunity. Uh-oh. What did that say? Was this from today? Yeah, this is from today. What time is it? 5:18. We got a little bit of time left. Supreme Court will consider immunity Trump. Let's see what comes up. Trump immunity claim taken up by Supreme Court. Keeping DC 2020 election trial paused. Yeah, I'm using ad blockers because I don't want to fucking look at your ads. So there you go. Trump is, it looks like Trump's lawyers are going to get him some time, and probably it won't be until after the election that they go after him for it. There you go. Trump immunity claim taken up. All right. Oh, what does this say? This is breaking news 11 minutes ago. The Supreme Court on Wednesday said it would decide whether former President Donald Trump is entitled to broad immunity from federal prosecution for conduct alleged to involve official acts that occurred while he was in office. The order from the High Court, which has a 6-3 conservative majority, marks the second time in a month that the justices will weigh a case with tremendous implications for the former president. In this dispute, the Supreme Court will consider whether the prosecution of Trump can move forward or whether he is shielded from criminal liability. Okay. This is interesting. The court has never before decided whether a former president is immune from criminal liability for allegedly illegal acts committed while in office. Trump is the first former president to be indicted, and he has pleaded not guilty. A 3-judge panel on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit rejected Trump's claim of sweeping immunity. He then asked the Supreme Court to put that decision on hold and allow him time to seek review from his full appeals court. It's unclear how much of an impact the court's decision to take up the case will have on the timeline for Trump's trial, since the justices could rule swiftly after hearing arguments. Proceedings have been paused to allow the former president to pursue his appeal on the immunities issue. U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, who is presiding over the case, scrapped the initial trial date of March 4th to let the appeals process play out. So there you go. He's bought more time. Interesting. Very interesting. The May 29th insurrection. Let me see what the May 29th insurrection is. The George Floyd protest. Is that what it's from? Trump briefly taken an underground bunker during Friday's White House protest. As protesters gathered outside the White House Friday night in Washington. This is why they put up the fences, I think, right? Because of this. Look, and there's been other, like just the other day, there was a bunch of trans folks who broke into the Capitol building and started going crazy on people. So it's like, man, how many times we're going to have insurrections here, but only January 6th? As protesters gathered outside the White House Friday night in Washington, D.C., President Trump was briefly taken in an underground bunker for a period of time, according to a White House official and a law enforcement source. The president was there for a little under an hour before being brought upstairs. The law enforcement source and another source familiar with the matter tell CNN that the First Lady Melania Trump and their son Barron were also taken to the bunker. The law enforcement source familiar with the protocol said that if authorities moved Trump, they would move all protectees, including, okay. So what did they do? Did they, on Saturday, only hours after the protest outside the White House had ended, Trump declared himself safe. So this is CNN. I don't know if they're even going to say anything, but did they enter? Law enforcement, blah, blah, blah. Second source told CNN if the condition at the White House is elevated to red and the president is moved, the Emergency Operations Center, Melania. Okay. Late Sunday night, the White House cautioned staffers who must go to work on Monday to hide their passes until they reach the Secret Service entry point. Jesus Christ. How is that okay? The email repeated mandates for maximum telework status and said there is still an elevated security posture. So, yeah, that's wild. The shadow people playing when tax fraud came out. Okay. Okay, resources actually. Okay, yeah. What I think is that Trump is like the emperor's new clothes. He's got a bunch of people in. Okay, yeah, and I believe that Joe Biden's on the same level there. Gates and Chinese nationals, yes. April 22nd, they will hear an argument. This just came out 15 minutes. But there has been some state show fits lately that demand China sell. Yeah, I've seen that too. It's not all of it, but it's a start. You should have to be a U.S. citizen to buy land here. I can get on board with that. I'm so fucking fervently America first that I'm just like, I'm sorry, but like, fuck you. Like, this is our land. You know, we stole this land first. Supreme Court will review Donald Trump's unprecedented claim that he is shielded from prosecution for actions taken while in office, further delaying the former president's D.C. trial on charges of conspiring to overturn his 2020 election loss. The justice set argument for the week of April 22nd to consider a unanimous ruling from the panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals, circa that he rejected Trump's sweeping assertion. Okay, so we read that. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Robbie, for doing that. If you think DC courts aren't biased, that's it. First wiki. This is such a joke. There is no connection here to the current president, yet Trump's requested people to go in January 6th. It's not the same. Over 100 federal officers were injured. The church was firebombed, as well as several stations for federal officers. But January 6th was first. Yeah, you know what's interesting is that I went to Washington, D.C. right after all that happened, and you could see everything boarded up. I mean, they really did a number on that whole area. So, yeah, I mean, you know, I think it was crazy what happened. But I think the main difference between January 6th is that there was so obviously plants that like FBI and feds in the crowd. They were told to stand down. They were giving tours to the shaman. What's his name? To the QAnon shaman. They were giving him tours. Like, it was such like a. There was one person from San Diego who was shot. R.I.P. Whatever her name was. But no one's ever explained why the pipe bombs were found. Who planted pipe bombs? I mean, like, it just seems so coordinated. That's all. It seems so coordinated. Whereas, you know, May 29th was this fucking riot that forced them to put up this huge fence in front of the White House. I remember that, man. I remember seeing that go down. Like, there was so many protests over that summer that involved like firebombing fucking government buildings all over the country. It's very obvious that this persecution of Trump is politically motivated, because he doesn't play ball. And that's why I like RFK Jr., because like you can tell he's somebody who's not going to play ball with this bullshit. And I mean, if Trump wasn't Trump, I think, you know, if Trump didn't if he wasn't so divisive, I would vote for Trump, because I think his policy is on certain things are on point. Now, this whole like fucking IBF thing in Alabama, where like the you know, like they're trying to say that these little molecules are babies, like that's fucking stupid. Like, and he threw his bag behind that. Like, get the fuck out of here with all that. This Republican thing of abortion, I'm just so not with. But you said it's the same. A president didn't request it to happen. It's not the same. Well, I don't. If you read the tweets and you hear what he says, he doesn't actually say go into the Capitol and destroy it and invade. He said to keep everything peaceful. I mean, here's the problem with the media is that they've been twisting all of these things. They take him out of context so much. That's why I don't trust the media. That's why the media is so fucking. I just have such a disdain for this legacy media. I also stated that Trump directly stated the protest peacefully. Yes, he did. He tweeted it too, where Kamala said we should do it and get it should get worse. They did say like shit should get worse. Even security kept the officers back. Yes, top heads knew. I don't like Trump, but I think the system hating him so much makes me okay with it. Yo, chaos, feel free to be you. And that's why, like, look, like, I know that we're not going to agree on everything here in this chat, and I appreciate everyone keeping it kind of tame. But it's like, I don't care if you want to vote for Trump. I don't care if you want to vote for Joe Biden. I don't care if you want to vote for RFK or Marianne. Raina said that Marianne unsuspended her camp. Who gives a shit about hippie crystal lady? But still, like, vote for who you want to vote. I think the other day someone Primo made a great observation, is like, voting for the president is not even anything. Like, we should be worried about what's happening to us locally. Like, we should be worried about getting on top of local corruption before these assholes can stumble upward into higher positions of power. Like, vote local. Like, the voting for the president is like, I feel like pissing in the wind, honestly. It's just, what does it really matter? This one person isn't going to be the say-all, be-all of things. Although we do blame them for everything, right? But still, I feel like local elections are so much more important than even the presidential election. How is he an idiot? He's really smart. I don't trust. I trolled my parents and face palmed so much when he was president and just shook my head. But woo, these last 3 years with Biden has been making me feel like we're doomed. It really is. Okay, we got, oh shit, I gotta get my guest in here, guys. We'll continue this conversation with our guest because our guest is very adamant about this subjects and stuff online. It's part of the reason why I brought him up. So let me pull him up. Let's get our person up here because shit's going off right now. Let me get him up here. Holy shit, I'm so far behind. Sorry, homie. Let me see here. Bring our guest on. Where is he? Where's my guest? All right. Multi-streaming. Nope. Virtual webcam. There we go. Boom, baby. Boom. Oh, and Andy is in the house. Hold on. I don't like that. All right. I'm gonna bring my guest on, and I'm gonna be RB, you guys. I'm gonna bring my guest on. I have to piss so bad. RFK was, I think, saying COVID was a conspiracy. I can't remember. It was some things. He was saying the vaccine was an untested technology, and which it was. And they said it was to prevent the spread. And Rachel Maddow was saying it. He was telling us. Rachel Maddow was saying, it will prevent the spread. And then you find out it wasn't tested on pregnant people. It wasn't tested on how it was going to affect women's, reproductive shit. We're finding blood clots. Now there's like lawsuits against states, and Pfizer, of course, is unaffected.
Brought to you by Pfizer. Fuck you. Pay me.
Lots of stuff. That's why I like RFK, Joanne. Just so you know, I like RFK because he left. They shut up the only scientist trying to tell us the RNA created. Yeah, actually did. Exactly. It was very obvious what was going on.